Right, hello everyone. I wasn't planning on doing anything particularly today, but given recent events overnight, and what you can see on screen here, the sort of out of control violence that's going on amongst the left, and the amazing coverage that Andy No, and who else is it? Kitty Shackelford. That was it. The the covering that they've done um, over the last several months. Yeah, I mean, oh god, the officer just went over his head and he didn't move. What a muppet. Um, so just a quick update. Um, I'll probably should stop have that playing in the background because it's going to be done for going to get this one booted as well. Right. So what is it? Yeah, here. So just a quick update. Oh my god. Okay, I need to pause this violence. It was me playing on loop. My Twitter was effectively yeeted, and I'm signed into the um, AI Shiatori, but I'm not able to do anything. So I go and like something. Yeah, you can see that nothing, can't share, can't comment, anything. It's completely. I'm still getting notifications through. Um, as you can see here from Economic Rudit, but I'm not getting anything coming through. So what I've done is I've created a burner account which is titled Icarus. You should see it about, and I'll be tweeting, I guess, using that for the foreseeable. I mean, this is bizarre. I mean, still getting notifications through and everything, and I'm still able to be on there, but I haven't been able to do anything with it so far. And I looked at the terms and everything. I was meant to receive an email for an appeal. I got no appeal. It's just being put on restricted and left. So from where I'm sitting, I think it's I mean I don't know what's going to happen because usually even before when I've been like suspended, it says, "Oh, you can be it's like for a week or 2 weeks or something." But this time I've got nothing at all. It just is on restricted. Um, so which is annoying because I was using it to promote this channel, Twitter. So I'm going to have to start again from the fucking ground up. Um, not to worry, not to worry. Right, so yeah, that's that. So my new Twitter should be in my new Twitter account should be in the description. So yeah, go follow me and everything. I'll probably be using Parler more often now. But yeah, and so overnight what's come through over the was it Brianna? Let me just go to Andy because the trouble is all these shootings are sort of and all these riots are just sort of for each victim sort of merging into one at this point. Yeah, so this was about the shooting. What triggered last night's response was the shooting of this, I believe, medic in Louisville or in Kentucky. I don't know if it was Louisville, but the sort of started in Louisville. And while we're not obviously not talking the purpose of this, is we're going to be talking about leftist violence. But you know, there was, from what I gather, there was police officers supposedly entered the house without a warrant. Shots were fired at them. They returned fire. She was hit, and of course, all the anti-police law are out for blood. In response, because the officers weren't charged with, I think, the full offence that a lot of these protesters wanted, they have basically spurged out last night and lost their temper. So as we can see, Andy No and all the other of his companions have been covering overnight coverage really well, actually. And the tactics that they're getting at, I mean, like openly, whacking an officer around the back of the head with a baseball bat. Trashing neighborhoods. And one interesting trend that I've noticed that Antifa have been doing, and I don't know, again, I don't know why they're sort of going along this, but it's targeting residential areas, especially in Portland, possibly down to the reason that there isn't any, there's fewer police officers there. Constantly going to the town or city centre is what's bringing, tougher responses. But I mean, again, they've sort of gone back to the original Chaz. They've started attacking. They started rioting. And I mean, as I said, Andy No has been really, really on point with all this covering, and also the mugshot. I mean, you probably can see it in the side back here, but every single night he's just been releasing which is public information, releasing of the names and the faces of those who've been arrested for rioting, and it's some of them have been quite interesting. I mean, we might get down to it. Here we go. So, Laura Salisbury Sutton, 33, was arrested at a violent BLM Antifa protest in southeast Portland. She was charged with multiple criminal offences and then quickly released without bail. She's a circus performer from Flagstaff in Arizona. So, it's like that. It's like that thing from the Joker. It's like send in the clouds. um, and I mean, of course she is. uh, they're not that self-aware, are they? um, and to be fair, I mean, places in Portland, like the police haven't been fucking around. They've had explosives and incendiaries flown at them. And in Louisville, apparently there's been uh, shooting of officers as well. So officers being shot at. It's quite clear it's descending completely out of control. And I mean, there's a lot of people who are now worried that if Trump is re-elected, it's just going to push it over the edge. And I guess that's what the left really wants, because they are making it out that if you allow, the only way that we're going to stop is basically if they get what they want, and that's terrorism. I mean, they're effectively employing the tactics of all terrorist groups of the bygone age, of causing destruction, chaos, fear. Fear is a very big one, actually. It's a very big motivator for Antifa at the moment. I mean, we've been seeing the footage of them going to restaurants and getting up to people, especially elderly people, because I mean, like any sort of well-calculated cowards, they'll pick on the weakest that they can abuse, manipulate, sort of just be generally nasty to, and intimidate. And obviously, there are those that who'll be standing there filming it, and recently they're the ones that have been targeted as well for filming the what's been going on, and yeah, of course, I mean they've been taking on just random members of the public, like a driver who's, I imagine, going off, maybe going home, going somewhere, who's been caught up in this mob, and they're saying we're going to get the bear mace, get the pepper spray, and quite rightfully, the guy panicked and just went right through them. I mean, don't blame him at all. Do not blame him at all. And yeah, and so I think what a lot of, first of all, I mean, these like Black Lives Matter, Antifa, whatever you like to refer to, they're the same thing. And they know that they've been having some really bad coverage lately. Um, I do believe that the vast majority probably don't care because they are so ingrained in the sort of, their Reddit forums, their um, communist circles, that they are completely tone deaf when it comes to everything. But a lot of them are realizing that the films, the clips that are coming out there of them, screwing with people, intimidating, and committing violent acts is having a negative effect. And so any journalist, any guy with press on it is now they're just being attacked like they are members of the police as well. Um, so I mean, it's an interesting one because they're getting more emboldened with violence. It's not just police. It's. I mean, they're declaring war on the press. The ones in the past that have, have defended them. Um, and now they're going after people sitting at restaurants, people driving home from work. I mean, these radical revolutionaries have declared war on every single person in the US who isn't out there marching with them, um, and something has to be done about it. Um, if you're an American, that is, from your perspective, because this can't be carrying on for, a year, 2 years. This cannot be a new normal thing of every night you're going to have hundreds of radicalized Marxist lunatics go out there and start destroying property, intimidating people, and, as I said, latest trend, walking into residential neighborhoods and basically threatening people in their own homes. Because remember, this is America, uh, that is this going on in, and I mean the population at large are armed. And if you notice, since the start of the riots back in, what was it, May, they've slowly been moving out from the city centres to the suburbs, to towns, just like, and the Carl Rittenhouse incident is a classic example of where um, the sort of freedom loving small town Republican ideology meets the metropolitan Marxist um, fragile fragile individual, um, and, you know again, there will be more deaths. There'll be more of these rioters who are going to find themselves that they're going to come across. I mean, I'm anticipating that fairly soon they're going to come across a house where you're going to have somebody who isn't going to, you know, be that restraint, who's not going to have that discipline that the police have or anybody else have, and they're going to really um, take the law into their own hands. And God help them when they do, because um, I mean, they've been got away with a lot, and even today, the media are still putting out bullshit articles about white supremacist and white nationalist violence, um, completely inverting the truth of what's going on. Um, and so, I mean, there's only so much lying the media can do for these lot. It must be coming to an end now, because there's nowhere else for them to go. I mean, the violence has escalated. They started firing at police officers. Guns have the protesters have now gone from, fists, bricks, bats, cars, and upgrade themselves to guns. I mean, there's no other further way that they can go uh, beyond insurrection and the boogaloo. And of course, the banners are out for the, progressive cause, whiteness is violence, um, and, you know I'll try and find actually, because this was one thing that I noticed, which was really interesting, and it was something Tim Pool's been talking about for some time. Let me just see, because this is probably earlier on in the week. Yeah, I mean, our mob taking on the police. Ah, here it is. So let me just. You probably can't hear this. Let's see. Maybe, hopefully, you can hear this. Basically, they are coordinating. There's a guy with a megaphone coordinating, and a truck full of banners, full of riot equipment that they can use in the riots, um, shields, has just turned up, and they've gone running in there and grabbed it. And remember, Tim Pool was talking about this probably about a couple of weeks ago, of these in the past when he's been to areas where there'd be, Occupy Wall Street or some sort of other anti-capitalist protests. Um, and he would go to a lot, fly between these cities, and he'd be joined with the 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 I guess you would say the hooligans, who would also travel from city to city, and they were labelled the tourists. Um, Now, who covers their costs? Who paid for this lorry? Who pays for any of this? Um, I just I don't know. Um, oh, hi Saffron. Hello there. Um, I mean, I think we can all guess who pays for it, but I don't want to. I said it on Twitter, and my Twitter's been banned, so I'm not going to say it on YouTube because I don't want to tempt fate. But um, we all know the particular individual. Um, Yeah, I think you just said this truck was rented by the leader of one of these bail fund organizations. Well, I mean, but that's the thing. We've been told constantly in the media that Antifa, that these sort of people don't, there isn't organization, there is no leadership. It's the spontaneous will of the people. Um, Holly Zoller, founder of the Bail Project in Louisville, Kentucky. Oh, let's search that up. Yeah, they just bring it up on the screen there. She's confirmed it. Let me find. Is she on Twitter? Let me just have a look. Holly Zolia. Ooh, it's quite interesting. What's this about? Okay, so she was somebody who was injured at Charlottesville, the right protest when the white supremacists plowed a car into a crowd. She's here wearing an Antifa shirt. Hmm. Well, I mean, it goes to show what Trump said right back along at Charlottesville, that there were good and bad people on both sides. I mean, it definitely proves, um, and it definitely proves that theory. I mean, yeah, the white supremacist guy shouldn't have run to the car into them, but what gives them to right to organize? Because they are organizing revolutionary groups which are going around intimidating, destroying property, because they don't respect property rights or anything. Because, again, communists, why would they respect anyone's property? Because they believe in property. Um, and threatening people in restaurants, and she's been facilitating this. Oh, look there! There it is. That's the famous one. Oh, hello, Sanders. Dan, why do you have a stream against the cartel? The cartel aren't streaming now, are they? Uh, I mean, but literally all their stream slots is like Monday to Sunday. So when else can I stream? Um, yeah. So I mean, let's see. What's it? Let me just go back. So this has been confirmed. It would look like that your boy here is funding these riots. Maybe not directly, but indirectly, he's definitely keeping the money rolling for them. Um, even that old git must realize that this is having a negative impact for the Democrats because all they're doing is, I mean, because I imagine the average American knows that these aren't the people in this, in these images here and such, and that we've been seeing, getting stuff out of these trucks. That they're not like MAGA people. They know which aisle political persuasion they come from. Um, it's deepest law today on AA's channel. What? I thought he has like at 9 o'clock. Oh, fucking hell, it is, isn't it? Well, too bad. He, you have to. He'll be fine. Most people on these streams just go to catch up anyway, so it's a bit whatever. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. So I mean, yeah. This there is organisations behind it. And I would say like Antifa as itself. I would say it's like a collection of organisations or projects or whatever. Um, and but the boots on the ground people are um the boots on the ground people who are going around committing this violence, whether it's Seattle or Portland or New York or DC or wherever, it's the same. It's the same people, and I think the response from Trump is basically enact federal law, arrest them, hefty sentences, hefty punishments. Is the only way because, and this is the important thing, the media. I mean, I'll just go and find BBC News. If you look at BBC News or CNN or any of the other um, mainstream voices, they are not wording it in a way that correlates with reality. They make it sound like this natural, um, this this sort of natural spur of the moment people's protest. I guess you could say like that what you had in Belarus at the moment and such. Um, and um, it just doesn't sit with reality. I'm just trying to find the article actually. I got the saying two police officers shot during Louisville protests. Again, I'll just bring up the BBC one. Thank you, Saffron. Yeah, who cares? Yeah, there's a lot better than listening to AA talk about punk rock for 3 hours. Oh, I thought he was more of a rap chap, but um, I mean, punk rock, it's all right. I don't know. I don't know if you could be talking about it for 3 hours though. But I mean, to be fair, I ramble on a lot. and a lot of these streams just basically ramble. I mean, the one with Sargon that we did the other night, it was basically us laughing at the metro, to be honest. So I can't be too critical. Yeah, so I mean, it's just the wording of these articles is really fascinating because, like, first of all, two officers shot during Louisville protests. Okay, so what happens, BBC, when a protest turns violent? Is it still a protest? No, it's a riot. Now, I mean, let's let's just look up definition of riot. What is a riot? So the definition is a violent disturbance of the peace by a crowd. I think shooting two police officers, two people, shooting two people with the intent of killing, because when you use a gun against somebody, what else are you trying to do but kill them? That is clear. I mean, yeah, I mean, the idea that you say two officers shot during protests, I mean, it should be saying riots, and that's the problem. All of the mainstream media's reporting on this has been completely um, running defense of Black Lives Matter and Antifa. And this is the thing. Imagine if we didn't have uh, Andy No or any other people who've been, putting up videos on this. Because if we didn't have them, we wouldn't be. I mean, or any of this stuff, we wouldn't know what the hell's been going on at all. We would just be getting articles like this, edited clips like this. I mean, let's just have a look at this.
Shots fired. Shots fired. Right there. Right there. Officer down. Right there. Officer down. Yes.
About 8:30 tonight, our officers were called to the area of Brooklyn College on a large crowd and shots fired in the area. As they were deploying to investigate what was going on at First and Broadway, shots rang out and two of our officers were shot. Both officers are currently undergoing treatment at University Hospital. One is in alert and stable. The other officer is currently undergoing surgery and stable. We do have one suspect in custody.
Yeah. I mean, even the BBC couldn't doctor that footage to make it seem peaceful anyway, because obviously whoever they hired to film on the ground there behind the police lines was caught up in it. And yeah, there was no way that they could make it, sex it up or make it look anything but what it was. Um, but even then, you would expect the headline and the wording in the article here to at least resemble what that's on the footage, because again, I mean, they even say I mean, it's all because the thing with the BBC, they either say peaceful protests, or clashes. They'll never go into riots, unless, of course, if it's like, anti-lockdown football lads or anyone else's that are protesting that gets violent, they will obviously call riots, but not with these. And it's a good thing they got the National Guard called in, because they run the risk. I mean, it's like the first night and it's already escalated to Portland levels of insanity. So I mean, I think Kentucky, what is a Republican state, isn't it? I imagine it's a Republican state, so there probably won't be. The trouble is, one of the problems with America is it has a lot. I mean, you have like we think devolution in this country is bad. Over there, they have you have the federal, then you got local, state level, um, And the problem is, you could be in a red state, but I imagine Louisville has probably got like a Democrat run. It's a Democrat run city, so they were going to have a trade off there where the local politicians in the Democrat city will be really soft when it comes to this, and probably either support it outright or mildly support the action these protesters have been taking, or but then you'll have the Republican statewide legislators and such will be the ones that want to enforce tougher penalties on these people. So that'll be interesting to see how it will play out here. Because obviously, I can places like Portland, was it, in and in San Diego and stuff like California and Oregon and such. It's all Democrat run. AI, you should go on unpopular opinions. Well, I think you have to be invited first, and I don't know how invite process will work, but I guess I'm always open. I will always go on other people's streams. I'm going on Harrian's Laugh at the Guardian on Saturday, so that should be good. Um, very unique form of protesting, it is. Um, no one mentions that Tyler's boyfriend was shooting at the cops during the serving of the warrant. Lol. Yeah, I referenced that earlier. Actually, I said that the police officers who entered the property came under fire as you say, from the boyfriend. Um, I mean, I imagine she must have been caught in the crossfire because again, I don't know too much of the case in detail. Um, but shows, I mean, if you see firefights, like if you go, I mean, there are plenty of channels that you can go on. If you go on police, I think it's called Police Active, which have all the body cam stuff, and you see firefights on there from the body cam perspective. It happens in less than a second. Like you see a police officer talking with a man or something after they pulled over 1 minute, and then like in a split second, the guy that he was talking to tried to pull out a gun on the officer, and the officer, shot him, downed him. Officer was shot himself, calling for backup and everything. It happens so fast, and that's why. I mean, that's why. I mean, I said it. Before, I said it in the previous stream. The Muppets that say, "Oh, shoot them in the leg and everything." I mean, again, there's a video on there. I mean, I'm not going to show because it's far too graphic. Of where you see a perpetrator where an officer did shoot him in the leg, and he managed to carry on running to the other officer on the ground, pick up his gun, and hold a gun against the other officer, forcing a different officer to shoot him in the head. Um, and this is the thing. That's why they're always trained to shoot for the central body mass, because the idea is like the officer's telling you to get down and to surrender. I mean, and this is one thing I lack is the left is trying to absolve from these people any personal responsibility. I mean, you're pointing a gun at officer and you're firing shots at police officers. What the fuck do you expect to happen? Seriously. Like, I mean, the fact that anyone is outraged that you know this sort of thing. I mean, it's unfortunate because, of course, the girlfriend was hit and she was killed, but the who initiated this violent confrontation? It was her boyfriend, and not the officers. I think the officers were going to be just going to be a convenient scapegoat for all this, but you know, they aren't interested, and it won't change. Think this will help or hinder Trump's election chances? All of this will help Trump's election chances. There's been polling out. I'll see if I can find it actually. In some of the key states. Let me just go. Some polling. See if I can find it actually. Yeah. It was quite a good one because I think it was it was showing Arizona and I think it was Arizona and Nevada. Hmm. Unfortunately, I cannot. Oh, here we. Okay, I found a website which is who's this? The New York Times. Okay, may not be the most reliable. Um. Well, let's find somewhere else. But yeah, I mean, like Tim Pool's been talking about the idea of a landslide because even I mean internally the Republicans think that they can flip New York. Now I know that I've come under some backlash on your discourse and such for saying it's possible, and it is possible. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm just saying it's possible. It's not beyond the realms of possibility. I think um, I think if someone said, "Oh, Republicans are going to flip California," I think you could say no. That's pretty. That's a pretty ridiculous um, chance to take. Um, I mean, of course, all the original pundits for um, the previous one are predicting that Biden's going to win. 97% in one. It's politic polls, and it's from The Economist. Um, I think Clinton, what she had like 96%, something like that, winning on the actual election day. Um, and it's important. I think polls are not there to inform. Um, they're not there to sort of give a clue of public opinion. They're there to inform public opinion. Because the idea is, if you say, "Oh, overwhelming majority of Biden support exists in the country," it sort of acts as like a deterrent, like a demoralizing deterrent against Trump voters. And that's what polls are there to do, and it's used in this country as well. I mean, it's used for it's probably used by both parties, to be honest, because if you give the illusion that you're doing so well, I mean, remember in what's it 2017 election with Theresa May? I mean, it went from Theresa having was it, like 100 plus seat majority, and then it went down to the wire because she was such an incompetent prime minister and didn't engage in any meaningful leadership debates, and it resulted in a hung parliament. So I say so. Go back to the question. I think it was help or hinder Trump's election chances. I think it will help him because the Democrats want to run on the talk about the virus. Trump's talk about law and order and the violence, and because I mean social media. Every election goes on, I think we said in 2016 that was the election of social media. Social media is been over the years been gaining so much prominence and dominance over communication, how we communicate, that we are see. I mean, more people are seeing real ugly stuff going on the ground, and Trump's retweeting it. His family, his sons and such are retweeting it. His followers, advisors, and everything, they're all retweeting it. So I think he's going to win. I do think he's going to win. I don't know if he's going to have a landslide. Um, I one prediction I will make is I think he'll flip Minnesota this time. I think he'll be able to hold Pennsylvania, which he won last time. I don't think he's going to lose any particular states. I know there's been some talk about like Texas and Georgia because there's been like influx and there's been sort of steady sort of decline in Republican, especially in Georgia and such in Texas. I don't know. I think what will happen is there will be sort of like a national swing. So the Republicans will increase their voter share uh, in their own states. I think Democrats' share of the vote will go down. Um, but the question is, will I think it will come down to turnout. And from what I can see, as an outside observer and someone who's done work like Ipsos Mori polls and done Mori polls before, one really bad, I guess, if I was on the Biden um, campaign team, one thing that's a really bad sign is that when it came to the elections, the presidential, the selection for the candidates, Trump, who obviously he didn't have any serious contender, but they still went through the motions of officially voting for him, and he had immense turnout, even when there was no need to, more so than Obama did, and especially Bush. Biden, on the other hand, um, he again, on the other hand, I mean, he was obviously it was a bit different because he was fighting other Democrats contenders at the time. Um, but even then, like if you look at the rallies, I mean, like take Kenosha. Trump went up to Kenosha, and he was met with a sea of people, and ordinary Americans of all races and such. Um, and then if you take Biden's um, visit up to Kenosha, it, there was hardly anyone there, and those who were there were quite separate from him because he was surrounded. I mean, he sort of did what I guess Theresa May did, where she basically surrounded herself with, I think, like with the Grenfell and the various terror attacks that happened at the time, with like the police and first responders and community leaders and such. But uh, I think, on the whole, I think the force of momentum is behind Trump more so than ever. Um, and that's the thing, because we were talking about the virus, and I think Sargon he's mentioned it, and a few others. Is it's not a visible thing that you see in your day to day life. Um, it's not something you see. Like you don't see people en masse walking around the street coughing their guts up, collapsing in the street, or anything. I mean, I know there was people. It was like people freaking out on Twitter and everything when there was like some guy collapsed on the street, but back in May or something during the start of it. But on the whole, it doesn't look. There's nothing visible to indicate the virus is at sort of bubonic plague level. You take the riots on the other hand, we know that's going on. I mean, there's a chap in um, who used to live in Portland, and he went what was it? He went just driving round where he used to live, and then like at the city centre, every single shop was boarded up. Um, and it wasn't just your high end was; it was everything because everything was being targeted. And I imagine if you were living, because I mean, we know if you look at what's it? There's like a stats and everything out. Places like California and New York, people have been leaving, and it cannot be a coincidence. I mean, I don't think it's just a virus or like the Dickensian policies of the Democrat governors. I think it's also like the violence that's going on there because who would want to live there? And who wants to live where you have state-level sanctioned mobs of Democrat voters who go around, intimidate, beating up, causing criminal damage, and then only to then be have the Democrat politicians in those areas, saying, "Oh, I'm one of you, I'm one of you." But I mean, oh God, who's that mayor? It was in uh, whose own um apartment was targeted by the mob. And he's quite a radical left winger, and even they weren't having him. and and yeah, um, if they don't come for you now, they will eat you last. Effectively, they'll come for you last, and they will eat you alive. Got another key demand. Biden has had the turnout to crush Bernie, though. Remember how overwhelming his South Carolina victory was. Yeah, but I mean, my response would be to that is the. I mean, that is a good point. I mean, let's go at the let's just bring up South Carolina. Actually, that's a good one. Let's compare here. So, I mean, currently they're giving Trump. Um, I mean, currently Trump is in the lead, um, which is not surprising. I think it was predicted that he would be, polling wise. But you have to remember, is like I think the majority of Democrats are like I guess what you'd say the moderates, who do dislike Trump, knew that the revolutionary Marxists are number one. That they are a serious and imminent danger to their party. And you just take like the Young Turks. I mean, they've been over the last couple of years ruthlessly coming after what they describe to be as moderate Democrats, or blue dog Democrats or something, what conservative Democrats or whatever it is, and they've been recently coming after them. Bernie Sanders, I think, like Corbyn, he appeals to the cosmopolitan lot, and I think Biden. I mean, I think also a lot of it was wrapped up in nostalgia because you had the Obama years, you had and he's a figure that's been in U.S. politics since the 70s, I believe, probably even actually I think the 60s as well, some part of the 60s. He's been involved. I mean, he was there when Reagan was there. He's been a sort of present and continuing individual, and so maybe that they went for the safer option. And also, you have to remember South Carolina. I mean, forgive me if I'm incorrect, but that's part of the sort of southern Bible Belt part of the United States. And if you're telling me that a revolutionary communist like Bernie Sanders didn't do well down there, I'm not surprised. I was surprised when it came to some of the states where Bernie Sanders. I thought maybe some of the more Midwestern, like your Minnesotas and places around there, that he would do well. That's where I would say that he would have done well. I mean, but you know, I think Bernie would have won. I think it wasn't for the super delegates. I think he would have won again in 2016 against Hillary Clinton. Because she is. I mean, if you want to compare Hillary Clinton, say, to Biden, Hillary Clinton was and is far more unpopular than he is. But yeah, what do I think of Keir Starmer? Well, he's at a problem at the moment because he's trying to push the Labour Party as like this patriotic party, and then you've got all the momentum, all the radical left within the party who um, quite dislike him at the moment, just trying to do everything to undermine that image, that new image that he's trying to create. So, I mean, recently, Sanders 101. I don't know if you've seen the. Um, her name is Nadine Whitmore, and she has been. She was on Peston. And for those who don't know, it's a popular um, news, I guess, talk show, late night news talk show, and she was on there last night, and she was on the front bench of the Labour um, cabinet, the shadow cabinet. Sorry, that's my cat's screeching. Oh God, how do you spell Whitmore? This is the problem. It's a bloody. Got Nadine Dorris. I haven't got bloody Nadine Whitmore. For fuck's sake. Why can't these people have real ordinary names? Like fucking John Smith or Mary Smith or whatever. Um, but yeah, she was on the front cabinet, and she was on the Peston, and it was announced to her, unbeknown to her, that he had sacked her from the front from um shadow cabinet. And the reason she did was she, along with 18 other Labour MPs, rebelled against a bill on the veterans legal cases. And basically, what's been happening is over the last couple of years, you've had veterans from the Troubles, veterans from the Second Gulf War, and such, who have basically found out that they've come under um, legal you know private prosecutions, or been trying to push for prosecutions or civil orders to for prosecutions by families, and this has been fueled by activist lawyers, and the government, because especially with Northern Ireland, and again, I mean, the Good Friday Agreement, if I remember correctly, was supposed to bury the hatchet in many ways. It was supposed to say, okay, IRA, okay, Ulster lot, and British Army. A lot of things have happened, but now it's like, from my understanding, it was meant to be like a mass exemption from everybody. This is the new starting point, and we go on from here, and we just we forget what happened. That, from my understanding, that's what the purpose of it was, but anyway, she voted against it, and of course, this, from Starmer's perspective, this is basically her saying, "No, I think British soldiers should face legal, um, you know, vice lawsuits." Because this is the thing; it isn't like they go after a certain soldier; they go after any and everyone. So, and she's been dumped. Starmer's trying to cultivate this new patriotic image. I don't. I mean, personally, um, he's not a Blair because he hasn't got the charisma or the Machiavellian spirit of it. Um, I think he's more of an Ed Miliband. He isn't a strong leader. As much as the media in this country constantly say, "Oh, yeah, he's a strong leader. He owns Tories in Parliament," and not really. I mean, Tories are sort of owning themselves at the moment, so it's like punching down. It's not like he's achieving any sort of grand breakthrough. I don't think he's going to. I don't think he's going to win the next general election just on the sheer numbers, because no prime minister, even Blair, was able to win at an election, because he would need to win like what's it, like 130, like minimum 130 seats just to be in the running, and I don't think even Blair achieved that number. Like 97, he'd have to do something with win like a 97 election. And also, I mean, you have to look. Let's say Scotland does go independent between now and then. Labour would have to win seats like Jacob Rees-Mogg's seat. If you actually look at the percentage of Labour votes and target seats, they would have to win Jacob Rees-Mogg's seat. They would have to win seats in Cornwall and places in Devon. Like, they would have to win rural Conservative seats, and that's just not going to happen. So in many ways, if Scotland does become independent, it's even ensure the end of Labour ever having power again. But at the same time, given what's going on at the moment within the institutions, even within the Conservative Party, well, it doesn't really matter because the policies still get pushed through, don't they? One way or another. Until something changes there. It might. I think in the future it will do. I think it's going to take a lot of time. But that's my update. One thing I'd say, because maybe there's a few people didn't know, check out the description, because that's my I've recently been booted from Twitter on my AI Shiatori account. So I've set up a new one called Icarus. So if you see Icarus about somewhere, like you see like someone with Icarus with a guy with wings and such, that'll be me, because that's my new Twitter account. And we'll sort of go on from there as try and rebuild something from there, and continue. As I said, I'll be on Harry and Gladieve's Laugh at the Guardian on Saturday with Discordia and Rose of Dawn, so that should be good. I'm looking forward to that, and I'll see you all then. And thank you everyone for coming to join me